life is better than all that had preceded it. And we need to understand that, and we need to recognize it. We need to recognize that we can't do it. Because what we had at that party was water. And what we would have had at that party was still water. What IBM had was a program useless to them, and what IBM would still have would be a program useless to them. But here, Jesus saw their nothing and turned it into something. Who do we turn to get us through? Right? And so, what happens when we think what we have isn't enough? So we know now that Jesus can take a nothing and turn it into something. A person's nothing, turn it into something. But what happens when we think what we have isn't good enough? When we think what we have isn't enough for us, when we think what we have can't get us through. We can go to John chapter 6, verse number 1 through 12. That's John chapter 6, verses 1 through 12. Now, who do we turn to get us through? Here, we find ourselves where we have, but what we have isn't enough. You know, we hear that saying, I have too much muff and too little money. Right? My month lasted beyond my money. And so we believe that we have not enough to get us through. John chapter 6, 1 through 12 tells the story of Jesus with the 2 fish and 5 loaves. We've heard this story so much, and from when we were little kids in Bible school to when we were adults, we just keep hearing the 2 fish and 5 loaves story, and it's an amazing story of how he fed the 5,000 men. But we know that most of them had women and children, so it's really like 10 to 12,000 people. And so when we don't think it's enough, it's plenty for Jesus. What people saw as a snack, Jesus saw as a banquet, right? Because remember, our vision is this big. His vision is beyond us. None of us could have seen heaven and earth. None of us could have envisioned the world that the Lord created. And so his vision is beyond us, and he's already beyond whatever we're thinking. And so his banquet was before him, but all they saw was a snack. And so it says in verse number 1, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee. And a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with the disciples. Now, I want to, this is an aside, but when you read this is why I'm a profound believer in testimony. It says, a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he had performed by healing the sick. If you tell people how good Jesus has been to you, if you share with them how he has brought you from nothing to something, from out of trouble to safety, they will also follow Jesus. It's through what people see, not just what they hear, that gets them up and following Jesus. And then Jesus went on a mountainside and sat down with the disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, "Where shall we buy bread for these people to eat?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Now Jesus is already ahead of us. Remember, he was at the party he knew what he was going to do once they filled the bases with water. No one else knew, but he knew. Here he knows what he's going to do. He's just playing with Philip. Philip answered, it would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. That's what we always say. We see problems in our lives and we turn to ourselves and say, it can't be done because of this. I don't have enough this for that. It can't be done because this thing is in the way, and it can't be done because that thing is in the way. And yet, hang on. We often find these things and we say this is in the way or that's in the way, and we don't have enough of this and we don't have enough of that, because we get too bogged down with our own personal burdens and we can't see that if we just turn it over to the Lord, he'll fix it. And so here, even those that were with him, Philip, a disciple, and seeing the miracles of Jesus, immediately jumps to, we don't have enough to feed. And he's sitting with Jesus, who can do all things, and he reverts back to being just a human being, right? Just an ordinary person, just a normal person to do what normal people do. Worry about something they can't fix, get burdened by it, when you could just turn it over to the Lord. Right? Because the Lord's right there. Philip could have been like, Jesus, what you gonna do? Right? Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. Here is a boy with 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish, but how far will they go among so many? Again, he didn't even say, hey, Jesus, I'm gonna give you these 2 fish and these 5 loaves. I'm gonna see what you can do. Just basically saying, this is all we got. We got to use what we have, and we can't get any further. But if you give it to Jesus, if you turn to him to get you through, he'll get you through. And one of the things that's interesting, one of the reasons they tell you it's a small boy, because they want you to know that probably what happened was his parents had fixed him a little lunch. You know, you're going down to hear the sermon. Okay, I'm gonna go see Jesus. Well, take this with you. Here's a little sandwich, 2 fish, and 5 barley loaves. Now, 5 barley loaves, the reason they tell you barley loaves, they're very specific. Barley is what poor people had. Wheat is what rich people ate. Right? So barley is really small, and it's really what the poor people had. So it tells you that because they want you to know how great this miracle was. Right? Took 2 little fish, right? You know how small. For those that fish, Brother Williamson is out there. He fishes. Perch are really small, right? So now they're fishing. They say that it's smaller than that. But it's small fish and 5 barley loaves. And he says, how far will they go among us? And Jesus said, have the people sat down? He's not even listening to them. See, Jesus will tune out all that, right? You call him on them and you're crying and this and that. He's tuning out all that. What do you need? Right? Jesus is saying, I understand your concern. I understand why you're crying, but please get to the part about what you need. Jesus says, have the people sat down? He hasn't even, again, pay attention. He won't even address their concerns because he doesn't have to be bothered with those concerns. Why? Because he will get you through. He has confidence in Jesus. We need to start having confidence in Jesus. Amen. Right? So Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those. It said they sat down. There was plenty of grass in that place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men with them. Like I said, they had the women and children, so they say it's about 10 to 12,000 people. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed to those who were seated as much as they wanted. He did the same with the fish. At no time did Jesus, they say, begin to count what he was doing. Let's see, I got one bar, I'm gonna break it in half, that gives me two. Now I have to break it again. He just gave thanks and started breaking loaves. And he had so much that he gave people all they wanted, not all he had. Says, who received as much as they wanted, not all they had, right? You know, we go to some of these, luncheons that we pay for, or whatever it is, some of these places, and you go, you get in line, they give you the one piece of chicken. But now you know you paid for more than one piece of chicken. They give it to you, and it's not all you wanted, but it's all they're gonna give you. But Jesus is giving you all that you wanted here. And he did the same with the fish. So he gave them the bread, he gave them the fish, all that they wanted. When they all had enough to eat, he said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of 5 barley loaves left over those who had eaten. And when it tells you that he told them to gather everything after everyone was done, Jesus didn't forget about the people that was with him. Got 12 apostles. Each got their own basket, right? Each got their own basket of food after they had already fed the disciples. I mean, already fed those that had come. So if you turn to Jesus, he'll get you through, right? He'll get you through. If you turn to him, it's proof that he can turn your not enough into a surplus. You might have been broke, now you have a savings. But you didn't do that. You turned it over to the Lord, and the Lord did it. If you would have waited on Philip or Andrew, you'd still be starving. They'd be standing there trying to count how many people could get this, right? You 12 people can get something. I'm sorry, you 9,800 couldn't do nothing with you. But he gave it to the Lord, and he did it in abundance. And I'm telling you, if we just give it to Christ, he'll give it to us in abundance. And lastly, what if what you're doing ain't working? I'm living right. Did I try something else? I'm following you, Lord, praying, and I'm still unemployed. I had a good job, everything was going good. Corona happened. Now Corona's happened. They stopped giving the extra $600. I'm behind on my rent. I don't know how I'm gonna make it. I'm doing everything you told me to do, and it's not working. I'm applying for jobs, not working. I'm still alone in my life. You know, I go to church. I go to the singles classes. I go to the single conferences. I'm on a ChristianSingle.com. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, and yet I can't seem to have anybody in my life. Whatever I'm trying is not working. But again, who's doing the trying? Me, right? I'm not turning it over to the Lord. I may be talking to him. I may be saying, I'm not doing this, I'm doing that. I'm following what you told me to do. What's the problem? But I'm not saying, fix my problem. Change the language. Say, Lord, I'm alone, bring me someone. Again, we've learned early through Jesus's mother, you don't have to give no long-winded request. She said they ran out of wine. Let the Lord know I'm alone, tired of being alone. Right? Ask him. Say, I've done everything. I'm prepared, I think. Send me somebody my way. If I'm not, then prepare me so that that person can come because I'm ready for them. I'm ready for a better job. You know, I've just been sitting here for 5 years. I can't get promoted. I'm trying to get promoted. I'm applying for jobs, for a promotion. They're not giving them to me. What I'm doing ain't working. Tell me what to do. Help me help myself. I'm coming to you to get me through. So for this, we should look at Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11. When we're trying it and it ain't working, who do you turn to get you through? It's another proof that when you turn to Jesus, he fixes it.